Hey, and welcome to Seven Leaves. Uh, I'm here. I am here at the AHSI for the Kolkata League meet. I missed because of health issues. Uh, the whole event today was fantastic. The lineup was fantastic. It due to health issues but I'm not going to miss it anymore. I'm gonna see where it is. Okay. Oh, wow. So this is I have never been here before. Uh, much photogenic. Actually, a review time it's quite a hidden gem. I think actor Rahul Bose is speaking now, maybe because it it is supposed to be the second last talk. Um, I'm really rushing. Got it wrong. Actually, it's two places where this is. I hope Rahul goes in the house. Hmm.
It took me 2 days to reach Matna. Told to my uncle, Neera, and Dhruvo had come to see me off. For most of my journey, I slept or stared at miles and miles of landscape. Familiar, yet unknown. Neera was off to Wisconsin for some Asian studies shit. Dhruvo pulled the right strings to get into Citibank. I gave the civil service exam and got Matna. Neera gave me her usual Marxist line about the bureaucracy. Dhruvo scoffed as well. Baba called from Calcutta to say, good, I'd get to know the country. But then he's an old world bureaucrat, a blend of takes life too seriously. Huntukaku, well, it was the first time he approved of what I was doing. 1 year in a dot, miles away from anywhere.
That's actually my actual father who plays Puttu Kaku, who says Koto Dhare Koto Chal in the train. Yeah. And the bizarre things about India, did you notice? The only subtitles you read were the ones when English was being spoken. When the men, when the people speaking Bengali, there was no subtitle. This was going to a Bengali audience all over the world. English জানি না ওদের সাবটাইটেল দেবে বাংলা যখন বলবে কিছুই বলবে না এই ব্ল্যাঙ্ক থাকবে ওখানে how bizarre is that
Hey, I cannot see anything
subtitling
from here.
yeah it's off movie so I have no idea this is not part of the film I should one never look misconstrue so tell us about if you are in the mood um, tell us about the world you lived in and inhabited and observed in the years leading up to this
Please go through my life.
wow, this is like a bad trip. Look, this is 1980. I wrote it in 80. 89 is probably 88, 87. Anyway, I wrote it a long time ago. Um, Very boring, but the principal said, if you're sitting the UPSC, then you can't be made permanent. And then I was like, what's it? Who's the man? Tishanku. So I either had to sit the exam or uh, plead with him to be kind and make me permanent. So that was wise, I think. So I sat the exam. So I was already in about 3 months before sitting the exam. Then the moment I got in, I actually went to the statesman. This is a true confession. And said, listen, actually, I don't want to become a civil servant. May I join you as a sub-editor? Anand Sahai was then resident editor of statesman. He said, you must be nuts, you must be mad. So I said, okay, I got the point. Then I went and joined Masudi. Is this what you wanted to know? No.
It is, but more, there's more.
You mean why the book? I mean, it was just scream, it was just waiting to be written. In fact, if you ask me, I think it's about, the book's about the out of place of English, out of placeness of English in India, I think. That's what the book is about. But everyone said, what a what a funny book about the bureaucracy. And if people are saying nice things, you don't want to argue and say, listen, that's not what the book is about. It's about English in India, and just shut up and just look at it this way and tell me nice things. It's silly. So you just keep quiet.
Okay, so it is about the English in India, and
The English.
I mean, your real bureaucracy book was the later one.
No, that's a laugh. I mean, it has such funny lines.
Welfares of the memories of the welfare state.
It's just so good. I shouldn't be laughing at it.
No, love.
No, I mean, hey Bhagwan, this Hindi film actress, I think I mean Nirupa Rai or somebody, who goes to a temple and says, hey Bhagwan, मैं छोटी सी आस लेके आई हूँ, which is to say, oh God, I've come to you with a very small ass. I still laugh and I say, my God, and then I have out to this lie. So, but that's incomprehensible to someone who doesn't know Hindi. Well, you just can't, I couldn't not put it in. There are lots of those. Yeah, I was very happy with Panamitis, no one else was. It was magic.
But in English, August, you said you put in the jokes to make it readable.
Yeah, of course. Because, there's no, I mean, there's no girl who just shags all day long. There's nothing.
I don't dare ask.
There's nothing.
So he just reduced me to being nothing. So that's why there's no girl, there's nothing. He just masturbates all day long, so there's nothing.
But, it's like, how the hell are people going to read this? So just add, it's great sort of, keep adding jokes, keep make people turn the page.
Yeah, I've actually compiled some of them.
Yeah, but that's a dirty trick that he did last time. He wrote down what the
First lines
first
of.
paragraph of each book. Then he read them out and asked me to comment. Can you imagine? Crazy.
Today I'm going to ask you to comment on the jokes.
Okay.
Here's one. I don't know if we'll call it a joke, but anyway. He wasn't hungry, but he wanted milk to delude himself that he was careful of his health. Vasant, is there some milk? Milk? Asked Vasant, as though Agastya had just asked him for his wife's cunt. Vasant looked more insane with a green towel wrapped around his head, but he seemed in concert with Madna.
Yeah, that's not a joke.
You weren't scared writing this stuff?
Why? You mean like one of my brothers was horrified. He said, why did you put that? So I said, no.
It gets worse. It gets worse.
No, I mean, what do I say? I just, just put it.
Yeah, one more. It gets worse. Please, nobody take this personally. But I read in an article somewhere that some of the inmates of the Ranchi asylum are perfectly sane. They're just unwanted at home and it's cheaper to keep them in the asylum. Then the widows at Varanasi, Ranchi asylum, asked Shankar, his face displaying the irritation that arises out of bewilderment. You know, Ranchi in Bihar. Ah, Bihar, said Shiv, as though that explained everything, and turned to his brother and said, Bihar. He pushed his glass out for a refill. I also read that article. It said that one person in the asylum went mad out of jealousy because his brother used to sleep with his sister and they wouldn't allow him to sleep with them.
It's probably, it's probably something I read. No, I mean, I can just sense this slow prevailing discomfort coming over this audience, and Mala sitting there thinking, what is Arunava doing? Do not read from the book. Let's make this a wonderful, funny trip down memory lane. Do not read from the book. India has changed. Do not read from the book. Right? There's a growing yeah, but that doesn't mean that you have to let sleeping dogs lie, Arunava. Please, let's just do the frothy stuff and leave, which I'm very happy to do.
I was going to ask you if you would read a bit from the book. These are just snippets.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
One last line, no profanities, but it was very funny. I laughed at it for about 10 minutes when I read it. On the way out, he's leaving the collector's office. This is towards the end of the book. On the way out, on an impulse, Agastya stole his collector's car keys.
No, the funny one is with the which really happened to me. So, you know, when that the a cow flicks dung on him, I think it really happened to me. That's actually a lot of mess. You won't remember it. Anyway, so there's this bit.
I'm just imagine it happening to you.
You did. You just walk out and it's sort of very loud, you know. I mean, you don't bathe very often.
You didn't have to do any of this in the film.
Any of what?
Having a cow flick dung at.
I'm not even going there. India's changed.
Okay, how other than your 20-minute talk with Upamanyu, what else was your preparation for this?
It wasn't 20 minutes. It was about a couple of hours. No,
Other than that, what else did you do for this?
prep. I think I learned how to roll a joint without it being drugs. I used to, you know, take out the tobacco and put it back in because I notice a lot of people who either they smoke rollies or they smoke joints. They do it with one hand. So I was like, you know, I should look dexterous, stuff like that. Otherwise, I mean, the handstand press ups, Dave saw me do it one day. He said, why don't you do it in the film? I said, fine. Um, I do remember one scene where, you know, I had to pleasure myself. And so Dave said, I've made sure that all the women have left the set. And I just saw these, you know, these four very sweaty light men and sound guys over me. Very challenging because we shot at a time in India where if you were shooting in a village, you know, there wasn't much. You know, I mean, I stayed in what must have been the Taj of that village, and it was no air conditioning, obviously, 30 years ago. And on one side was what seemed to me to be the busiest petrol pump in the world, because you know, trucks, buses, diesel fumes, urine, smell stench of urine. Um, Musical horns, all of that going on till about 3:30 in the morning. And on the other side of this esteemed property, location, was what seemed to me the busiest temple in the world, because the bells would start at 4. So I would have 29 minutes of silence between 3:31 and 3:59 to sleep in silence, and then one or the other would start, and both are valid, but not for an actor struggling to do his first film ever, and he carries the film. There's nothing, you know, everything happens around him. So it was psychologically tough. It was physically tough. The weather didn't help. I don't know. Anyone seen the film here? Okay, quite a few. So like the first scene was the land record scene, where I think the actor's name is Gopal Krishna. I forget. wonderful face, white hair. In fact, he looked like a classical musician, and he's sitting there, these files all over, and the sweat was just pouring off. There wasn't any need to put water spray and things. And I remember his first line was, he smiles at me and goes, "It's very hot," you know? And I was like, "Dude, you're absolutely right. It is freaking steaming out here." So yeah, it wasn't an easy film to do, but I man, um, so the film took a year to get over. I mean, to get completed, and then we were selected for the Toronto International Film Festival, and even now, TIFF still remains one of the top 8, 10 festivals in the world. In those days, there was Venice, Cannes, Berlin, and Toronto. Now, of course, there's Sundance and all the others. And the film, I had never seen the film. So I was sitting in with the audience in a theater called Famous Players. I think it was on Bay or Bloor. And I was watching myself for the first time in this movie. And I did not watch the film, I just watched myself. And I gave myself marks on 10 for every time I appeared and disappeared from the screen. Because I was so paranoid about, my performance. And at the end of it, I figured I had escaped with minor injuries. This was my assessment. And like happens at all festivals, program director was on stage, called Dave Benegal, the director of the film, on stage. And very kindly, Dave said, "Before I answer any questions, I'd like Rahul Bose to join me, who plays the lead role." And I came onto stage, and there were, I think it was a fairly large cinema hall, 400 people. And I didn't know them, they didn't know me, none of that. And I know how this is going to sound, but stay with me. I walked onto stage and everybody stood up. And the reason I'm saying this is because that was my first experience of my first film on its first day, any time in my entire existence, is why I'll never forget it. Because I stood there and I said, this is what it's all about. If you manage to speak the truth through what he's written and what Dave has done, if you manage to do that, it's going to be okay. Your life is going to be okay. And till today, that memory, some memories exalt you. Till today, that memory is what keeps every moment of what I do alive, because I feel, wow, this is what it can be, you know. And of course I owe it to him, and of course I owe it to Dave and everybody else on the film. But finally, it's your mukra on that chehra on that screen, and it was traumatic watching it. But yeah, I think that's the magic. And that's what you try and, not the magic of the applause, just the magic of the moment when you know it's there. That's what you're trying to keep doing all your life.
Yeah, I mean, it was so good that ever since then, reading English August is, I keep thinking of you at 27. You know, that's Augusto Shen. I think for many people, once they've seen the film. What was, yeah,
Although having said that, his first cover was it Penguin?
Faber.
Faber. It was a bearded dude.
Yeah.
He was a bearded guy with an umbrella.
That's how he's described also.
And so when they cast me, a lot of people who had read the book were very offended.
Well, yeah, in the sense that in the very first cover has the Faber idea of an Indian, so they put Javed Miandar. I don't know if it is Javed Miandar with a tie. So I said this, I wrote to him, there were no faxes. I wrote to him saying, you've put Javed Miandar, this Pakistani cricketer, on the cover, and the hero has a beard. And 6 months later, he said, oh, yes, that's true. So then they put Sunit Tandon on the paperback because Sunit had a beard those days. Then when I told Dave, he said, no, it's better for expressions and so on. So we are shaving the guy. So I said, of course, it's your film. And it's true, it's sort of easier to emote and so on. You have to be shaving.
But I just want to add, because he's not going to say any of this, and I wonder whether you'll ask the question about the collaboration between Dave and Upamanyu.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear something about that?
Yes, I was going to ask.
Yeah, of course. So, and I watched that happening, but not, of course, I'm sure you guys must have met 200 times. I only watched you guys do this 2 or 3 times. And it was almost telepathic. I think Dave was also born into the same milieu that you were writing about. He seemed to identify very, very closely with the deeper issues.
That's someone. I think what you're saying.
The deeper issues of the film, like you said, it's actually about dislocation. It's a profound sense of, do I belong to this country? Am I Indian? Am I not? Right? All of that. And so when Dave and Upamanyu would collaborate or speak, you could just see Upamanyu was very. Most authors are very resigned for the director to do whatever the hell she or he wants to do with their work because they know it's always going to be traumatic. But with Dave and Upamanyu, it wasn't that way. If I
Yeah, it is. In fact, it's true. I was, in fact, I was in office, and those days, two menials shared the same room and one telephone, and the phone rang. My colleague picked up. It's true. This one is true. He picked up and he said, "Aap did." I said, "Kaun?" He said, "Shabana Azmi." It was Shabana. I mean, one of the advantages of being in Maharashtra is that, you're Bombay covered, you know people. And so it was Shabana Azmi, Dev knows Shabana, and Shabana must have told him, I know the guy, I'll phone him for you. So it was Shabana Azmi. Anyway, so that's how we met. He said, I'm going to Delhi, can we meet? And then he said, yeah, let's do the film. So I said, it's like someone saying, you just want to rotate or something. Sure, we did. Yeah, the vibes were very good. They still are. We don't meet that often. I was very clear. It's his film. It's like recreating a piece. So there are lots of chunks, where he said we can't have this and we can't have that, and we delete this. And then there are other chunks that are I think in the original screenplay that he must have deleted while making the film. Then he must have deleted some more while editing. But it's his film, and the end product is very nice. So,
did you co-write the screenplay of one?
Yeah.
There you go.
We did make some money on it. I mean, in the sense that Penguin published the screenplay.
Do you remember any of the things that were left out? Shooting things that didn't make it to the film?
I think, for example, the brother, Shankar's brother is dying. That's not in the book. Well, it's a visual, so he's put that in. Then there is the funny bit, which is not. First of all, he said, he wanted to, but he changed the venue to Andhra because even the script is different and so on. And when you're learning Telugu, that's sort of funny, and that's true. That isn't in the book either, etc. There are many things. Yeah.
It was a serious book. I mean, you may be laughing about it, but you meant to write a serious book.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think funny books are very serious. So you know what I mean.
What are your thoughts about that whole thing that you mentioned now? Someone who's born and brought up in a kind of English way, still living under that colonial hangover, and then gets to meet something called the real India, the rural India.
No, I didn't mean it that way at all. It's not like, it's not like you should wear a tie and so on in typical sort of Kolkata club. No, it's just the sort of pointlessness of having studied English literature and L.H. Myers and all that's in the book. And then you sort of go and sort of meet the real world. And I didn't actually, let me put it this way. We go and get trained at the academy, right? And I just, very early I heard, oh, there's the Bhumihar gang. You wouldn't even register, but they were all scenes from Patna. You know what I mean? And then all that sort of grows on you. You think that there is that other world that you just sort of, maybe if I'd gone to JNU, all this would have sort of sunk in sooner. But
you wrote a story before this. This is not your first published work.
yeah, quite a few.
Yeah, sorry.
Quite a few, yeah.
Yeah. So,
oh, you mean the killing? Which? You mean the killings in Patna? No.
Yeah.
What? What? Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to, which you will not yield, of course, but I'm just trying to pull out of you like a tooth how and when and why you decided to write this novel. Okay, why you've told us, but how and when did it form in your head? When did it become a novel? How did you write? You were living in that world at the same
No,
time.
no, no. This is very much post.
Yeah.
Very much post. I had finished with the district. I had gone off to Pune. I had begun work. And then, why did I? Well, I just took off. I took off to write it. I just went home and 5 or 6, what's his name, on a motorcycle. And Bose said this is the fastest book ever written, which is true. I did nothing else for about 4 months. It's possible to write a book in 4 months, I think. But it's getting a bit hazy, and I don't mean to say that that's because I'm hedging, but it really is a
Okay.
long time ago.
Yeah. But okay, I've asked you this before, but I'll ask again. Augusta Shen versus Upamanyu Chatterjee.
But I didn't sort of masturbate that much. I mean, apart from that, the concerns of mine, the fact that, after having taught Conrad and so on, you end up dealing with land records. And yeah, I guess it is something that I felt needed to be put down. This sense of the absurdness, the absurdity of English in India. Yeah, I still think it's absurd, but now it's too late. But um, yeah, I think it needed to be talked about. Yeah.
I'm just going to come back to Augusta, but Rahul, I know you acted, but Rahul Bose versus Augusta Shen.
At the time, there was a lot of similarity. Nothing like that today. I'm extremely happy to report that life took a brilliant 360 degrees, and today, whether I'm the president of the Rugby Federation of India, and we have 27 states, 322 districts playing rugby, and 90% of our players, no, 99% of our players are very poor from the hinterland, and we don't do a caste census, but I would reckon overwhelmingly tribal. And I travel all the two NGOs that I started in 2007, working with kids from the Andamans, Kashmir, Manipur, and also working on child sexual abuse in the remotest districts of Maharashtra, all the way up to the posh schools of Bombay. I mean, I can confidently say I've traveled more than anybody in this room across this country. I've been to more places than anybody in this country, in this room has, for sure. So that's the extent of my, into inverted commas, discovery of India. It's over 200 places. And from the tiniest tribal village, 242 kilometers from Bhubaneswar, to, you know, looking at shooting in urban Chandigarh or whatever it is. All my different, the three worlds I inhabit, the film world, the non-profit world, as well as my rugby, take me to places that nobody's been to. I mean, I've been to the Andaman Nicobar Islands 71 times. That's what I mean.
That is great.
I've been to Kashmir 45 times.
Wow.
I've been to Manipur 27 times. So it wasn't an empty boast. Do you know what I mean? It's that stuff that takes me there. Even to the extent that when I directed a film, my first film was the world I knew 25 years ago, which was Everybody Says I'm Fine, set in a fancy South Bombay hairdressing salon, and all the types that walk into the salon, I knew. That was my world. And then 20 years later, I made a film called Purna. Has anyone seen Purna? Okay, so the story of the youngest girl in history to climb Mount Everest, a tribal girl who was tending a goat, and 9 months in a village in Pakala district in Telangana, at the time undivided Andhra Pradesh, and 9 months later she becomes the youngest girl in history to climb Mount Everest at 13. How did this happen in 9 months? In a strange echo of English August, it's because there was a passionate, honest officer who, who used the system. There's a system for everything in this country. Use the system beautifully to make this happen. And the preoccupation of this human being who made Everybody Says I'm Fine in South Bombay, set in Breach Candy, to then going to Pakala and making a film that went from the 40 degrees centigrade of Pakala to the minus 20 of Everest to chronicle this. And it's a much better film than Everybody Says I'm Fine, if not as flashy and attractive. Much better film. Um, that then tells you how far away I am from this book. From Agastya Sen, but not from the book. Especially when, what's his name? His best friend with an M. Mandy. Mandy's arms are cut off because he was, caught having an affair or trying to have an affair with a tribal lady or whatever it is. I mean, so all of that, the side that Agastya sees the tip off and then retreats from is the side that I've been seeing for many, many years now. And it's not an ugly or a dark side at all. It's just the side that he doesn't want to, hasn't faced. And as a human being, that's that's where my heart lies. That's where
By the way, no one plays rugby in India.
Sorry?
No one plays rugby.
322 districts. 40% of India plays rugby, no one knows. And not only that, it's about 120,000 players, 60,000 women, 60,000 men, and we are doing much better than any other team sport. And you watch in 8 years' time, we'll be the only team, only sport after hockey, and of course cricket now, to make the Olympics.
Wow. Great.
Not because of me. No. Not because of me.
By auntie, you can say, you can say, no? Okay.
Sorry, Mala saying something.
And Mala says now others must ask questions.
Oh, questions,
Yeah.
yes.
But don't you have to be huge?
Huh? Yes, you do, but I don't play for India anymore.
No, not
The others do.
not you all tribals and stuff. And that, reasons.
Yeah. You have them. Come, I'll take it again.
Make him play.
Please ask questions. Good luck with the answers.
Yes, okay, the lady in the front row, whom I can see.
Hello, Rahul sir. Hello, Upamanyu sir. Uh, I'm honored to be here.
Yeah. Here, don't you, sir?
And just tell us who the question is for, otherwise it'll take half an
It's for
hour.
you. And see, you told you are into non NGO, rugby, and films, of course. Which one is your most liking, and why don't you get to see you more on the screen nowadays? Just because of rugby?
I like all three equally. You don't see me on the screen because you don't watch other language films. I've done a film called Berlin in Hindi,
I
a
watched
very
it.
good film. Then a film called Amaran in a supporting role, not in the lead role, in Tamil. I've done a film called Bhairati Ranagal as the ace villain opposite Dr. Shivaraj Kumar in Kannada. And I've just released Binodini in a supporting role day before yesterday in
Amaran,
Kolkata.
I'll see you today at 8 p.m. in ZTV.
On ZTV, is it on Z?
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
didn't know that. So, and I'm doing a film right now with Ayushmann Khurrana. Of course, he's playing the lead. It's a wonderful, wonderful script that should be ready hopefully by the end of the year. So, no, acting continues, but I will direct something at the end of this year.
Wow.
Thank you. Yes, there are two people in the middle. Can we take both your questions and then we'll answer them one after the other?
Hi, okay. Yep, am I visible now? Okay, I wanted to ask Upamanyu, Mr. Chatterjee, that when you were writing the book, were you conscious about using a distinct voice and a language, or were there any influence from literature that you have, any favorites that influenced your writing and your prose?
Okay, thank you. Yes, and the gentleman.
Um, Rahul touched upon this a little bit, but I'd like to get Upamanyu's thoughts on this. At a time when India's changed, at a time when we are in this process of making India great again to the exclusion of everything else, and anybody who says something, even hints at something to the contrary, is possibly asked to leave the country or at least be. Uh, so, would a bureaucrat in this day and age be allowed to feel a stranger in his own country in the way August was, or would a bureaucrat be allowed to feel as disoriented possibly as August was and see the pointlessness of it all? Would he be allowed to write a book like that?
Literary influences, if any?
No, I just it's because the book is I think, very easy to read.
doesn't mean that it was easy to write. All those jokes took a lot of time. You write a joke and it really reads like shit the next day, you change it. All that takes time. But it's painstaking labor. I was conscious all the time that, even Hajar Fakir Marna, I wrote it, and I said, okay, should I just leave it here? Does it sound funny? Does it not sound, etc., etc. So all that is, as I said, the result of uh, painstaking effort. And small town India has changed in the last 40 years completely. Now you have your mobile phone, every civil servant has a mobile phone, you're in the middle of nowhere, your Instagram and all that stuff follows you. So if English almost had to be rewritten today, it would be a completely different book. Those days, if you wanted to escape, you just got into a jeep and sort of slacked. No one would know where you were for 3 hours because at least in Chandrapur and even in here, uh, the phones didn't even dial. It was just a wire, and you picked up and there was an operator. Even you had to speak to Ratnagiri. The operator said, connector sahib and so on. So that even speaking to the connector took about 15 minutes. So once you were out in your jeep, it was just freedom. And then when you reached your destination, hopefully the jeep would have broken down. So by the time it was 4 hours later, and then the tehsildar would say that connector sahab ne phone kiya. Then from there you go through that same rigmarole. So it's wonderful. It was wonderful those days. So anyway, that world has changed completely. So if one had to write the book in 2025, it could be hopefully a funny book, but a completely different book. I don't think that answers your question.
But before the next question, first question is coming back.
Well, if I don't cop it, yeah, certainly with the intention, not the next one.
Is there? Okay. Yes, yes, go ahead.
In fact, it's freezing in here. Winter.
Is the air conditioning? This question is for Rahul Bhai. You said that rugby has now spread to so many states. Okay, so I want to ask you, what got you into the sport of rugby?
Should we take that offline? It's not to do with the session. I'm happy to answer it.
Yeah, quick one.
Yeah.
Sure. I got into rugby for all the wrong reasons at the age of 14. Here was a sport after playing cricket that legitimately allowed you to get dirty. That was great for a 14-year-old. Here was a sport where you could legitimately get aggressive and physical on the field. Another completely wrong reason to get into the sport, but for a 14-year-old, very attractive. And I don't know about how it is nowadays, but the girls in our school loved blood. So every time I broke my nose, the most beautiful girls in school would turn up to hospital. It was like they would talk to me outside of the classroom, but whenever I'm bleeding, they all come flocking. So three great reasons for a 14-year-old to start playing. And then of course I discovered very quickly I discovered the poetry. The poetry of life, the rhythm of life in that game, that courses through that game, more than any other game that I've watched and loved. That really, this game really has for me, it's a microcosm of everything that uh, life should have. Thank you. Yes, over there.
Just wait a minute.
We have somebody wildly gesticulating from the...
Meaning, time's up. Rugby is the one where you
No, there is time.
Rugby is the one where you don't let go of the ball, right? You run with it. I'm sorry. I just want to explain.
Have you gone mad?
No,
If you don't let go of the ball, how the hell are you going to score? What are you going to do?
and then you just fall over the edge.
Yes, but surely you have to keep, you can kick the ball, pass the ball, the ball goes on the ground, tackle.
Sounded not like the IS.
No, not. This whole self-effacing, stuttering, I'm a little bit stupid. You're one of the brightest people on the planet. Your wife is French. She should not hear you say this.
And then they, okay, I get it. Now I know the one you mean. No one pays it in India.
That's no.
I wanted to know, like, when this role was offered to you, right? So how easy was for you to, identify the character as Augusta Shen? And since it was your first movie, right? So was Dave satisfied with your performance in the first go, or it was a difficult task?
First, answer to your first question was very easy. And answer to your second question, you'll have to ask him.
No, you've been with him for a while. Yes, he was very happy. Yeah. He was very happy. In fact, that
Dave has never told me whether he's been happy or unhappy.
I can vouch for that. No, he told me it's a great job.
So in one go, you are able to give the shot.
That's the third question. No, it was fine. I mean, in that respect, it was fine. It went well, but what he actually made of the actual performance, you'll have to ask him.
Okay, more questions?
In the interest of gender, women? No? A third gender?
No questions? Yes? Okay. No, we'll give others a chance first, if they want.
There's a hand
Yes.
right at the back on the horizon.
Wow, Rahul, well done.
This is a question for Mr. Chatterjee. You were Director General of Civil Aviation during one of the darkest periods of civil aviation in the country.
I wasn't.
Okay. But
He's saying he wasn't. Are you taking the piss? Are you serious?
I really wasn't.
Because his whole question is predicated on that. He's taken a deep breath, and now you suddenly said I wasn't.
Okay, fire away, but I wasn't.
But you were you were handling civil aviation at
This is news to me.
But what's the question anyhow?
No, but how can you ask the question? It's based on civil aviation.
Anything about
He's not part of civil aviation. Are you what? Sanitation? Drainage?
No. What I mean is, during your tenure in the union government, the civil aviation sector was going through a dark period where Air India was shutting down and was opening up for auction. And there were a lot of elements in the rigmarole of events that actually reminded us of less than English August, the memories of welfare to a great extent. So when you look at that entire episode in that sector, how much do you think what you wrote actually transpired in the civil aviation ministry then?
Okay. I really have never worked in civil aviation. I have no idea. But, the memories it happens all over the world. It's the documentary. I must say, though, no one, I don't know if someone's going to ask me this, no one asked me, what the hell have you been up to? Let us throw the little book at you. Nothing of that sort. So, even for the memories, they could have said, why are you making fun of, the way ministries work and so on. Nothing of that kind.
Did anyone read the books?
Good question, because that's a very good question. Because I was in office. Some offices have the news on TV in front of you. You can't switch it off. The remote. There's no battery in front of you. Sorry, there's no. You can't switch off the thing. And it was in Bombay in this Marathi news, and I said, that is the memories of the welfare state in Hindi, in Devanagari. What the hell's going on? The Sahitya Akademi gave it an award, and I said, oh my God. But it's quite so funny. I was seeing it in Marathi. I've forgotten what's it called? Sticker. That thing that runs. Yeah. Anyway, so TV has its uses. No, I'm sorry to have disappointed you, but I was never in civil aviation. And India is now privatized, so
That's one theory down. Yes, okay, over there at the back. I just want to ask both Rahul Bose and Upamanyu Chatterjee, uh, for both of you, that was the film and the book, they complemented each other, or it was just a fun spoiler of each other? The fun spoiler. Means, I mean that I remember I saw the film first, and then I read the book later. So that's what I'm asking. That in many cases, when a novel becomes a movie, and so whether it's the literature that that represented in the film, was it the kind of a fun spoiler for the book or the film, or it's just kind of complemented each other?
well, as I said, it was already, it felt very nice that a filmmaker wanted to film the book. And, once we
No,
wrote
I think what he's missing, and I'm sure it's not advertent, is that he wrote the screenplay.
yeah,
So he's party to the movie. It's not that it's something alien that happened while he was fast asleep.
yeah, and then we wrote the screenplay, and then he did say, "Come and watch the shooting," and I mean, as I said, I couldn't get away. So, and the final product, which we saw for some reason in Paris, at this, well, it was half financed by the Canal Plus, I think. So, yeah, so it wasn't the final version because after that there were cuts. Anyway, no fun spoiler at all. No.
Okay. Do we have time for more questions? No one's answering. We can go on all night.
Yeah, there's a question.
Yeah.
Gentleman with a white shirt
Okay. Yeah.
on my left.
Yes. Go on.
That's okay. Last question.
Last question. Okay. It's not a white shirt.
What shirt is that?
Blue.
The shirt is blue.
Oh, shirt is white.
The shirt is white.
Shirt is white. So jacket.
Am I using my mind today? Or?
Jacket.
Can't throw the ball in rugby. The shirt is blue.
My question is to Rahul sir. My question is that you want to popularize rugby. So how do you, what are your intentions? How do you popularize rugby the way you want to?
It's a long answer, not here. There's a long answer which I've given in different fora outside of this.
Because I feel you are.
I can't answer it here, but there is a long answer which has got 10 points to it, which I'm very happy to put out into the public domain. The only reason I don't speak so much about the sport, despite being the president of the federation, is because too many people speak and too few people do. I always like to speak less than we do. So once we do, we'll speak. Till then, it's fine. I mean, you'll see. In the next 6 months, the earth will move as far as the sport is concerned. What's the point of talking about it right now? What will happen? Relax.
Okay.
But thank you.
Last question. There was someone at the back. Oh, they've run away. Oh yes. Go on. Go on, please, or just shout. I hope it's not about rugby.
No, it should be about the movie. Let's keep it about the movie.
My
Or the
question is
book,
to
sorry.
Upamanyu, sir. Am I audible? So, in your novel, you wrote about the place called Badna. So, is it based on some actual place in the country? Because it sounded very specific while reading.
I did train in a place called Simility. Chanda then later became Chandrapur, but as I said, I wrote this some months after training was over. So you sort of exchange letters and so on from. I mean that the Gandhi statue, which was propped up by this rod, was apparently in some village in Assam, because this friend of mine wrote to me, so you won't believe this wretched statue in front of my office and so on. So it's the rest of it is an amalgam of all the funny situations that I heard of through letters, etc. And some of it is definitely, a large chunk of it is definitely my own experience. But I suppose if you were to visit Chandrapur in 1983, you would recognize quite a few places. Yeah, that's
Rahul, any last words?
I'm going to die after this, I think. Last words. This is it. No, I think, well, certainly in terms of cinema, this was the first of a short-lived uh, sunburst of English films. Started in 1995, and then I think maybe Everybody Says I'm Fine might have been the last English film that was released in India, which was in 2001, 5, 6 years, but it still remains. I mean, English August, barring English language or not, still remains. A lot of people, anybody who's ever seen it, will always say that this is one of the finest pieces of cinema that they've seen. So I think just to have been part of that, I feel incredibly lucky. I have nothing but gratitude for the stars aligning in my favor. And it all started with uh, this man and his wicked brain somewhere in Chandrapur. So for that, again, I have enormous gratitude and affection, as you know, for you, Upamanyu.
fine. Okay, but this is all very sort of gratifying to hear. Thank you for your. I thank you too.
Yeah, I sat through the whole thing. Thank you, Upamanyu. Thank you so much, Rahul. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Please remain seated. We'll just take a minute to clear the stage and then I'll call on Malavika Banerjee, Director of the Coal India Kolkata Literary Meet, to take over.